أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Dear Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Congratulations on the birth anniversary of Imam Husain alayhi salam and Imam Zainul Abedeen alayhi salam, as well as the birth of Imam or Abul Fadl al-Abbas salamullah alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the opportunity to be amongst the sincere lovers and followers of the Prophet and his progeny salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhim ajma'een, and grant us the intercession, the shafa'ah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam on the day of judgment, inshaAllah. The discussion that I want to have, and inshaAllah it'll be inspired, and basically I'll come back to the two personalities that we're focusing on tonight, Imam Husain alayhi salam and Imam Zainul Abedeen alayhi salam. Last night we spoke of sacrifice and the relationship or the special character of Abul Fadl al-Abbas with respect to sacrifice. However, tonight I want to focus on two personalities, Imam Husain alayhi salam and Imam Zainul Abedeen alayhi salam. And the discussion I want to have is sincerity as a path to salvation. Al-ikhlas lil-khalas. One of the most important aspects of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or of a worshipper, one of the most important characteristics of a worshipper, one who worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to have ikhlas, sincerity. In fact, one of the chapters of the Holy Quran, which is relatively one of the shortest chapters, in terms of the number of ayat, it's one of the two shortest, but in terms of the letters, Surah Al-Kawthar is shorter. So it is relatively one of the shortest surahs of the Holy Quran, 3 short verses, yet equates to a third of the Holy Quran. According to the hadith, if you recite this chapter 3 times, it is like you've recited the entire Holy Quran. Perhaps because the focus of the Holy Quran and the core of the religion of Islam and the core and the essence of ubudiyyah, of a servant of God, is to realize the oneness of God and to be sincere to the one and only one. To have ikhlas for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surah al-Ikhlas or Surah al-Tawheed is very short, yet it is in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, equates to the third of the Holy Quran. Imagine 3 times reciting one surah equates to reciting the entire Quran. Obviously, when we hear a hadith like that, it's not about simply uttering the letters. It's not about lip service. It's about understanding. It's about reflecting. It's about being that which you are reading. This is the real, in fact, tilawa and qira'ah, or tilawa if you want. Quran tells us, and the Prophet emphasizes on tilawa, and tala also means to follow. Tala as a term means to follow. So it's not just to read it, but also to follow the principles of this surah. Again, ikhlas is one important aspect of ubudiyyah, to the point that God, when He created us human beings, He made us have certain characteristics that lead us to Him. One of those characteristics is that we love sincerity, we appreciate sincerity, al-ikhlas. The reason why, despite the fact that in Islam it may be permissible, or Islam in essence have limited the number of wives a man could have to the 4, as it was basically practiced prior to that with no limits. Islam limited that, and despite the fact that it is there as a ruling for special circumstances and for when it's needed, however, you'll find in all cultures, in all societies, throughout the history, every woman, when it comes to the special emotions of love, wants to have that for herself and no one else. We read that in the hadith even, that one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, when she would not have him, she says that irtabani ma yartabun nisa, intabani ma intabun nisa. What happened to me is what happened to all women, wanting their. This is normal. It is actually how God created us human beings. We want to have that feeling of that mutual sincerity, that they are, in fact, when you look at, for instance, children, they compete over who is loved the most. And some of them may have this, and especially one gender, we all know which one, wants to have it all, cannot even share it. Yeah? This is how God created us. This is one of the beautiful things, or beautiful aspects of human beings, that God created us with so much of the beautiful attributes of God. This is beautiful, but we need to also be careful how we use these elements and aspects of our personalities and emotions. Nonetheless, and we have to keep them within the borders of Islamic law and understanding of what God wants from us and what is expected from us, and keep those special emotions for the one and only one, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the real meaning of ikhlas, in fact. Ikhlas is when we go above and beyond this world of material beings or physical beings, and recognize the beauty in the Creator and love the Creator, and therefore love everything through the Creator. See nothing but the Creator. This is the beauty of this, in fact, reaching that ikhlas, that one sees nothing. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, Ma ra'aytu shay'an. I never looked at anything except that I saw God before and after and within it. قبله وبعده ومعه. In other words, I saw God in His creation. Not that seeing God physically, it's impossible, but seeing Him in His creation, recognizing Him in His beautiful creation, recognizing beauty through the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeing nothing but the Creator. There's a poet that in Farsi there are sometimes, and in most languages you'll find that, one poet says something and the other poet responds to him. So there's a famous poet who says, it's a very famous, in fact, line, Ta ki be tamannai wisal to yegane. How long should I wish to be in connection with you, to reach that wisal? Wisal is basically the connection of lovers. In the example that God has created and the love He has put between us, perhaps you could say the engagement period before marriage, wishing that, especially if you're in a distant engagement, wishing for it to be over and finally to be with your beloved. The response, another poet comes and says, what is this guy saying? He says, Ki rafte zedel ke tamanna konam tora, ki bude nahofte ke peida konam tora. When were you away from my heart so that I could wish for you? When were you hidden so that I have to look for you? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not hidden. He is not. In fact, if we look, we will find that He is in fact closer to us than ourselves. يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this in fact is closer than the other ayah that says, وَهُوَ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْكُم مِّنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. There's an ayah that says He's closer to you than your jugular vein, yeah? The other ayah says He is between you and your heart. Which one is closer to you? Your heart, yourself? He is in between, in there. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we see Him and we recognize Him, then we would be so sincere, we would see nothing else. How could one stand and pray? In fact, the reason why most of us struggle with our prayers is because we lack ikhlas. How could we stand and pray and at the same time, and I'm speaking for myself, at the same time be thinking of anything else? Where's our ikhlas? Where's our sincerity? We stand up and pray. Some people, they say time for, prayers are best time for lost and found. Have you heard that? You lose something, you forget where you put it, you stand up to pray, empty the mind, and suddenly you start remembering things. Yeah, I know where it is. And other things that people's minds wander. In fact, one scholar, they mentioned this story that in a city, I don't want to mention the name of the city or the scholar, just in case some may recognize. In any case, the scholar was reciting Salat al-Jama'ah, and one elderly person after Salat left and made a comment about the scholar. So people started, there was a bit of a commotion that people started, scolding him. What are you saying? How dare you say something like that? And as he left, the scholar asked them, what's this commotion all about? What's happening? So they said, he was saying that this was not a prayer. What you were doing was not a prayer. So the scholar said to them, he must have known something you guys don't know. And he told them, he said, my mind wandered into our backyard and something I'm doing in my backyard, fixing things, and this is where my mind was during prayer. So this person must have some sort of connection. He was enlightened and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired him. So don't feel bad towards him. You should feel, if anything, I should be the one feeling bad, or you should be feeling bad towards me, if anything. In any case, most of us struggle in our prayers because our level of ikhlas is not where it should be. We do not recognize the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one we should see and hear and think about, at least during our prayer. And that is because before our prayer, not just during our prayer, before our prayer we live our lives empty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't have ikhlas in our actions, day-to-day actions and transactions. If our actions and transactions were constantly with consciousness of our duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it comes to prayers, what will be on our mind is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why it is recommended, in fact, to read Surah Al-Ikhlas at least once in every salat, or at least once in the daily salawat, in the 5 daily prayers. In fact, we have a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam that if you don't recite Surah Al-Ikhlas in your daily prayers, at least in the 5 daily prayers, it's like you have not done them. This is a special level of, in fact, spirituality that we have to recognize and understand. It's not that our salat on a jurisprudential level are not accepted, but on a spiritual level they have not gotten far. Oftentimes it is narrated Imam Ali alayhi salam would recite it in every salat, Surah Al-Ikhlas. In fact, he was questioned about it and he said, I love this surah because it's all about recognizing that nothing else exists. If we look at Allahu Samad, we will understand this. How many people know what Allahu Samad means? Inshallah we know. Yeah? Oftentimes our prayers are lip service. Allahu Samad, I want you to research it. My discussion is not about that, but I want you to research Allahu Samad. If you understand Allahu Samad, you will see nothing else but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because everything depends on Him. He depends on none and everything depends on Him. So you see everything as a dependent of the Creator. In fact, right branches from the rights of the Creator. وَمِنْهُ تَتَفَرَّعُ. Imam Zainul Abedeen alayhi salam says in Risalatul Huquq, the core of all the rights, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All, human rights, your body rights, nature rights, people around you and so on. All of these are branches of the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Creator. Ultimately, if we see Him, then we see Him in everything. If we see Him the way we should see Him. This is ikhlas, a little bit about ikhlas. The reason we are, in fact, discussing this, as we remember 2 personalities. One is Imam Zainul Abedeen alayhi salam, and we'll come back to Imam Husain alayhi salam. Imam Zainul Abedeen alayhi salam displayed ikhlas in his ibadah. And that is why on the day of judgment, according to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the hadith says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has an angel calling, this is why he's titled Zainul Abedeen. If you wonder why he is named or titled Zainul Abedeen, he's Ali ibn al-Husayn alayhi salam. But his title is Zainul Abedeen because on the day of judgment, the angel says, where is Ayna Zainul Ubbad? Where is the ornament of all those who worship, the one who beautifies worshippers?